What's up, y'all? Back for video number 10. Today's video is called Babylon Cypher number 3. I've noticed with these videos, they're not really long enough. And basically, I leave out key shit. There's only so many things you can cover in each one. So I'm going to cover a couple key things. Like, I know the claim that I make that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are all the religion of Babylon. This is probably a contentious assertion on my part. Like, a lot of people would disagree with me, but I'm gonna tell you exactly why, and it's pretty fucking in your face and completely fucking simple, actually. But you have, who's the patriarch of all the Hebrews? Abraham. You call him, most English speaking people say Abraham, but it's Ibrahim is much closer. That's kind of how the Muslims would say it. But it's key is the, anyways, I'm not going to tell. Christians mispronounce every fucking name in the Bible. So bad. It's sad. And it's important, okay? Because the Hebrew language is a mathematical cipher, number one. But I'm not going to get into all that right now. What I'm going to talk about is, who is Abraham? Ibrahim, or Abraham, or however you want to call it. I think this is the third time I'm going to give credit to Jordan Maxwell as a powerful teacher, because he was one of the first people to point out to me how much Abraham, and Brahma sound similar. Now, their wives' names are also very similar. So, Abraham and Sarai, right? So, in India, in the Vedic society, you have Brahma and Saraswati, which I always found very interesting. But two people with the same names, and they're the patriarchs of these nearby religions. But that's not the point. The point is, it is said in the Bible, Old Testament, that he comes from Ur. What is Ur? Okay, there's most commonly taught that Ur is a city of the ancient Babylonian Empire. So right there, you have the patriarch of all Judaism originating in Babylon. Now, there's another theory that Ur is actually Irfan in Turkey, which I kind of lean to that one. I actually believe that more. And there's a lot of supporting reasons. But let's just say he's in the original Ur, which is the Babylonian Empire. So when he was there, did he invent his own language? Did he create some brand new culture? No. He was part of the priest caste, which means that he was preserving the ancient culture of astronomy and astrology. How you think Moses wandering around the fucking desert for 40 years? Either he's really stupid or he's guiding himself by the stars. He probably, the whole nation of whatever would have probably died if he didn't have astrology pretty quick. I don't know. That's just a joke, but you get what I'm saying. He's a member of a priest class. That's not just something you make up, like being a car mechanic or some shit like that. It's a tradition. It's passed on. And it's not something you could just create out of whole cloth, right? So if Abraham is a priest caste from Ur, he's a fucking Babylonian priest, bro. Chaldean. They'll say Chaldean. They'll like put this little thing on it. Chaldea is part of the ancient Babylonian Empire. Okay? And that's another thing. The Hebrew language is not their own. They stole it. They created it based on the Canaanite language much earlier. But yet the Canaanites are described in the Bible as being these murdering, child-sacrificing barbarians, which they were. That part is true. They were, but so were the Jews, and so were the Christians, because they were using the exact same language, the same playbook, the same ethical system, right? Ethical system. Talk about the most racial supremacist book in the history of humanity. It's the Bible. What's it about? All the pure race, like going around murdering every other tribe. How's that? And I mean, it seems like U.S. foreign policy is based on the same idea, right? You murder everyone who's not the right, eugenics of your desired outcomes, But I mean, this is a reality. They have gene-specific bioweapons. Some people say that's what COVID is. I tend to agree. I think it has a component of both AIDS and SARS combined. And I think it is a genetic bioweapon. How well it works is open to question. But anyways, the point is, racial supremacy originates in the Bible. But to be fair, they didn't create that. So what you need to look into is the Babylon Talmud. Okay, so a lot of Hebrews people around the world, like, you carry on this Babylonian Talmud. What the hell is that? There's a Jerusalem Talmud and there's a Babylonian Talmud. But it's not that much different. The Babylonian is way worse for sure. But how come there's a Babylonian Talmud, right? Wasn't that supposed to be the captivity, right? So theoretically, in theory, right? Just like they were captives in Egypt, right? They're captives in Babylon. So what happens? They found these giant universities and they have all these libraries and they do all this astronomy. Okay, come on, people. But the Babylonian Talmud is some nasty shit. There's pedophilia, it's endorsed, and fucking total racial genocide against everybody. Not just directly, but like it's they teach you how to cheat every other race, right? I'm not kidding. Okay, so you know how there's the Ferengi on Star Trek Next Generation? They have a book called The Rule of Acquisition. That's part of the fucking Talmud, bro. Go read it sometime. I'm telling you, you're gonna learn some important shit right there. But my point is, nobody knows because nobody fucking reads. And Christians in America are some of the dumbest motherfuckers in the whole world. And definitely they're got to be the laughing stock of all other Christians. Like I seen Greek Orthodox, I seen Russian Orthodox, I seen so many denominations. And they have actual priests, okay? They have people that actually can read Greek and shit. And they actually understand what they're reading. And it's not just fucking Jimmy Swaggart trying to fuck some hoes in the back alley and then coming on TV. You know what I'm saying? It's like an actual priest. He knows things. Anyway, the point is to say that this Babylonian Talmud is the basis of all Freemasonry, for number one. And thereby the U.S. government and all that is highly influenced by the Babylonian Talmud, right? That's all I'm saying. But it's way bigger than that. Okay, let's talk about a book called Snow Crash. There was this awesome sci-fi book called Snow Crash, written by Neil Stephenson. I won a bunch of awards. I think it won the Hugo and the Nebula and whatever it is, these big sci-fi awards, right? So this book, okay, he's talking about everything I'm saying, but he's putting it in terms of computer terminology, right? So in this book, there's a cult. I think it's around LA. It's around LA. And it's all these people that just blab. They blab like seemingly incomprehensible nonsense. And it's kind of like a big cult, but it's like a fenced off area. And it's like there's all these mafias and there's these like little micro corporate states that like have security and but anyways, so, and it starts off as part of a religious cult, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long time since I read the book. But the basic premise is they're mumbling babble, right? They're babbling shit. Now, every one of these little micro corporate states has a file, they're like note binders. I think that's what he calls them, like binders, right? So there's this binder of pages that tells you all the operating procedures of every corporate microstate, right? That's Babylon, okay? The book. The people of the book, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. That's what they call themselves, people of the book. What does that mean? So in this story, in Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash, every little microstate has its own books and it tells the rules and procedures and all the different codes and things that they have to do. Code. See that word, code. Now, as I was telling you, the Babylon cypher, because it's a fucking code. Their language is mathematical mostly. And it has these other different layers of interpretation. The Tamura and all the shit. And the rabbis have all these notaricon and the gematria, right? They have all these numerical codes for decrypting the book, right? So there's the literal read of it that most people would have. It's almost meaningless. It's so highly symbolic, and a lot of it's about math, to be honest with you. That's a crazy thing. That blew my mind when I realized that. And I was like, dude, these are like math equations. So if you're reading it as a literal story about a magic talking snake and all this shit, you're the dumbest thing ever, dude. You have no idea what these books are even about. And it's sad. It's really fucking sad to me. So the way I see it right now, this whole thing, what we call modern in America, what we call Christianity, is just a Zionist scheme to get white Europeans to go die to expand Israel. It's like, that's literally what it's used for, to start wars. And to fight the evil, you always got to build up the military to fight against, the evil terrorists and whatnot. But what's the outcome? Number one, heroin, okay? Afghanistan's the world leading server, okay, and became so after Skull and Bones, Poppy Bush and Baby Bush went in there. And okay, remember how I was talking about all the pedophilia and the sex cult of Babylon? Okay, in Afghanistan, there was a company called DynCorp. that was a U.S. military, not military, but I guess they would be considered a security contractor, right? So DynCorp gets busted pimping and trading, sex trafficking little boys to the Afghan war chieftains as part of their diplomacy in that area, where they're heavily cultivating and exporting heroin and poppies. It was even on Geraldo Rivera. Like, this shit is so out in the open. But after DynCorp got caught, right, pimping kids, I think they had to pay a fine. But they were still employed as U.S. to this day. As far as I know, those in their offshoot companies are probably still government military contractors, okay? This is what I'm trying to explain to people. You have no fucking idea what's going on. And it's all about this Zionist foreign policy and drug trafficking, right? So back in the day, the Babylonian Empire was kind of like one part of the Silk Road. You think about it, okay? So then different areas and different royal dynasties and stuff were kind of vying for control over the Middle East, but they're all basically cousins, right? So you got, like, for example, the Buddha, right? The Buddha was one more of these families, the Kshatriya caste. He was a warrior caste managing this empire along the Silk Road, basically. Think about that shit. Anyway, and then the Babylonians and the Iranians and the Persians and whatnot, they had their different ascendancy periods, and the Egyptians were also very influential. But the Egyptians lacked a lot of basic resources, so they were always dependent on trade with Babylon, with former Babylon, right? Or whatever. So I'm just trying to get people to understand the significance of all this and see how it relates to our world. And basically, I know it's a shocking thing to think about, and it's like not a common thing that people tend to talk about. But if you look at all the public image and like all the corporate interests around the world of what our country does and what it's about, it is the Phoenician Canaanite Babylon system to a T, right? But it's not like this is hidden. They flaunt it, right? They try to let you know as much as possible and like remind everyone what's going on. It's like a hypnotic trance. I mean, everyone's explained the money, right? The dollar bill and all the encryptions on the dollar bill, the Seal of Solomon, where it spells out Mason and all this shit like that. Everyone knows about that. Oh, here's an important deal from Kabbalah in this Babylonian system. If you look at a $1 bill, the word one or the number one appears 13 times. In Hebrew, Akkad means one, and it had numerical value 13. That's why there's 13 stars. Out of many, one. E pluribus unum. This is the Latin motto on all U.S. currency, right? So what does that mean? Out of many, one. It's the exact same thing I'm trying to explain to you. The 13 original colonies, right? 13 is actually the number of lunar cycles in a solar year, approximately. So 13 lunar cycles is one solar year. So that's the sacred number of the mother. And that's so part of the Babylonian Brotherhood is the Knights Templar. And they use the number 13. It was one of their sacred numbers. It represented the 13th. Okay, so you have 12 disciples in Jesus. That's 13. Pow! Okay, I'm trying to explain this shit to you. 13 lunar cycles in a year. Solar year. This is their number. One of them. But it's got all kinds of deep meanings, right? But I primarily denotes something hidden, I would say. Because it's a hidden center. Like if you stack these spheres and stuff, there'll be a center one that can't really be seen, right, from the outside. But it's implied. You kind of have to detect its presence. But actually, okay, so the 13 stars arranged in a double tetrahedron, or a Star of David. So as it appears on the U.S. Great Seal, that's the spherical packing system, what they're depicting right there. And these numerical codes and these star codes and star numbers, right? So you got squares. Everyone knows about squares and square roots, right? But you also have triangular numbers, right? And then you can have hexagonal numbers. You can have star numbers. Like 13 is a star number. I don't need to get into all that. But the point is, there's all kinds of these numerical codes and everything in all these writings. And in a way, they're teaching you how to do the math that you need to do astronomical observations. That's just one aspect of it. But I mean, this video is running short, so I'm just trying to say, if you look into it, there's a lot of details that will show you the lineage of the cult of Babylon and all these religions, and it's always right out in the open, but people don't read it, and that's sad because it could prevent a lot of death. That's my video, Babylon Cypher number 3. Check it. Think about it.